The following is a Productions original series.
Hello. Welcome to Walk and Roll Live. I am Doug Vincent, along with my co-host, Addie Rich. Our podcast is dedicated to amplifying the voices of the disability community. That's it, just succinctly like that. I am a polio. What's that?
That's it.
That's right. I'm a polio survivor, and Addie
has cerebral palsy.
There you have it. It's so short.
Right?
Yeah.
So CP. It's easy. It's
simple. Make it shorter, sure. So, how was your week?
It was good. It flew by. I'm amazed that we are in mid-May.
Oh,
I took a day off from work. Went with some friends to a conference. Deeply regret my day off today because nobody does my job when I'm away. So, I came into like 42 emails and was like, how can people need this much on a Friday? Like, some of it's kind of junk mail that comes in through AI spammers, but 99% of that had an action item.
You had to do something.
Yes, but you know what? I'm lucky I have a job. I make enough money to go to a conference. I was able to stay in a nice hotel. People were complaining because the conference was very busy. So when it was checkout time, like I literally was going down to get coffee and I waited like 25 minutes for an elevator that would fit me because you could only fit 6 people at a time. And people were complaining that they keep having to wait. And when I finally got on the elevator, like somebody was complaining in there and I said, wait a minute, you live in a first world country. We had enough money to get a hotel, to come to this conference. And if you're inconvenienced for an extra 15 minutes, I think you need an attitude adjustment. Of course, the whole elevator got quiet, but I don't know.
Wow, you just spoke right up, huh?
Yep, must be the podcast.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. It's those first world problems.
Yeah,
I
think people
spend a little more time maybe noticing the things we should be
being
grateful
for the things you have. Ungratefulness is like something in my craw that always bugs me. And you know what? In my defense, I was tired. My filter to not say it had fallen off, and I just decided to do it.
They didn't have to take the time to read the closed captions on your face.
I just started talking. Yep. So 6 people got an adjustment between floor 13 and floor lobby.
Well, hopefully, your percentage of those people actually taking that in and reflecting a little bit is good. Sometimes people who complain like that, they are tone deaf to that kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, it's been a busy week for me. I mean, I'm doing stuff. It's hearing you talk about, the stuff going on at work, it just takes on a whole different thing when it's work because somebody else is hanging over your shoulder maybe to make sure you're getting it done or checking in on. This is volunteer busier than hell, here.
Yeah.
And I love it. I do it every week, just working on the podcast. And there's so many things, moving parts to it that I don't think people understand. I didn't understand, when I started this, and I hear podcasts, where they're talking, they're going through credits, and somebody does this, somebody does, and, there's like 10 or my team or things like that. Well, I'm the team. And it's for an old guy like me, I feel.
You're not old.
It's
a lot. It's many hats. Wearing.
Many hats. Before we go on officially, because people say that to me quite a bit, and I'm very grateful for that, that they say, when I say 70, I mean, I have people that want to look at my license, but I'm like, no, really. And they're like, hey, you look good. Well, my dermatologist said, because my age come up, she said, you look good for 70. And I thought, well, now I can say officially from a professional.
Right. I am officially, yes.
Yeah, so.
I mean, because separate of having like health issues that are not your choosings, you've done well to take care of yourself. And so it's paying off, Yeah.
Well, and, before, people are like, wow, what's he look like? It's not 25, it's not 45. I might look like 65 instead of 70.
No, I think you look younger. But I would say we're kind of the baby faces, right? Because I get carded a lot. And I have people argue with me when I say how old I am. And I'm like, no, for real.
Well, it's very strange because when I was young, and of course it was a different time, and it wasn't, they weren't so stringent about the rules, but, we found a couple of bars when we were like 18 that would serve us. We'd go in there and just order and if somebody said, can I see your ID? Did I say a pina colada? I meant Coke.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. But, but I'm learning. That was kind of the point is I'm having to learn how to do all the, it's not like you just put the videos up on YouTube and, you can do that, but if you want them to really do something, or what I'm trying to do is do some work now that will pay off in a little bit of automation, because all these different systems will kind of automate. Like if I publish it on the platform that I publish it on, it'll go to all the places. I don't have to do anything. So one of the last ones when we moved our publishing platform was YouTube. So I had to move it to YouTube, and that they had a little bit more of an intricate, way to do that. So so I've got that. That was one of my victories today. Yes.
Good job. Good job. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I don't do, because people are like, you should do more podcasts related to plot twists, because you're used to talking, you know how to do it. And I'm like, do you understand that I have no extra time? Doug is production. I come here, talk, and leave.
Yes. And, there's no way you could do this with a full-time job, to the level where you want to do it. Yeah. So happy to do it. Like I say, this is what I love doing. I sit in here, for hours, at a time. It's like, where'd the time go? Right. One other thing is we're doing this for next week. We may have to get together again sometime this week, because we got the Memorial Day weekend coming up this weekend, and we're all both going to be off doing things. I'm going up to Santa Maria for the national
is it the car show?
Car show, yeah. 45 years, I think, this year.
Wow. I asked if it was the car show, because I know that it's generally this weekend. Well, Memorial my brain said it's sometime soon.
Yeah, exactly. They close the street off and have a cruise and all that stuff. So I'm going to go up and make a trip of it to get to see some of my cousins and stuff. So, I'm looking forward to that. So we'll do that. So next, sometime this week, we'll be doing the show for next week. Crazy. So looking forward to it, though.
Don't call us lazy. That's all I got to say.
So I think that's it. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. We thank Mr. Arthur Martineau to tell his story last week. Another great story.
Such an amazing story. I'm still there's never a story I'm like, okay, well, that was told and it was told. I still will think about it later, or be like, oh my goodness, my brain will just click-clack about that. And his especially, because, he's so far away. And I think okay, if I get a cold and I'm away, I feel uncomfortable, let alone life-altering issue. Golly.
The other thing is that one of the things that I'm learning, one of the many things that I am learning from doing this, I've been disabled my entire life, but man, there's so many things I'm learning by doing this show is, how different we are within the same diagnosis. And these stories tell it. I thought after a while, and when I first started, maybe some of these stories will get a bit redundant in there. There's some ways that they are very similar in how it kind of unfolds, especially when somebody comes to it later through some kind of an injury. But even at that, they're just so diverse in outcomes and treatments and, from, essentially the same injury.
Right.
So, right. And it's great to hear how people deal with it and, and how they've overcome some of the barriers that are presented to them and all of that. So, and we've got another one this week, which is, that was the other thing. I remember learning this years ago when, and I think I've mentioned this before, my brother was coming to see me. I think he was coming down for a wheelchair basketball tournament, and he was coming with a buddy of his. And, and I knew he was a quad, and he said, well, so-and-so is driving. I'm like, hang on a second, a quad that can drive, and this is really before they had all the technology now that pretty much anybody can drive now. But they, I learned that there are walking quads and things like that.
Yes.
That's going to be Susie that we're going to talk to today.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a fascinating story, and she does a great job of telling it. So we're going to get to that here in just a second. Anything else before we turn the corner?
Nope.
All right.
I'm ready for the story.
All right. We'll be right back to hear about Suzie Gulshan after this word from Agyar Professional Training.
At Agyar Professional Training, we know that your greatest asset is your team. Investing in their development, knowledge, and happiness is essential for your business's success and growth. To achieve new heights, it's important to hire intelligent, talented individuals and empower them to excel in their areas of strength and passion. Agyar is committed to transforming your employees into happier, more productive, and fulfilled individuals. When your team thrives, your business prospers. Wise leaders understand that providing team members with opportunities to shine in their strengths unlocks untapped potential. Elevate your team with Agyar Professional Training and witness the growth of your business.
From the Agyar Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories.
Bravo, Doug. Keep on keeping on. Your podcast is a treasure. Tune in to Walk and Roll Live podcast. Such a refreshing perspective on life and disability. Love it. Another great podcast episode. Such valuable information. You transformed the fact of not having a guest lined up into an opportunity to share valuable information in a different way. Very powerful. The hosts make you feel like you're part of a genuine conversation. Walk and Roll Live is my weekly dose of positivity. Thank you and Addie once again for the opportunity to be interviewed.
And welcome back to Walk and Roll Live. I am Doug, and Addie is here, and our guest for this week is here. A little background, I met her at the Roll and Rally. I want to give a shout out to Robert Soto. That whole day he was kind of rolling me around and introducing me to, you got to talk to this person. You got to talk to this person. So Susie was one of those people that he led me to. Suzie Gulshan, am I saying that correctly?
Yes, Gulshan, yep.
Yeah. So we always like to start by getting a little bit of your past. What were you like pre-injury and your whole life, where you're from and all of that. So why don't we start there?
Well, thank you for having me on. I was born in India. I'm a naturalized citizen, and I came to the United States in 1970. So this is pretty much when my life is living here in California. I have two siblings, and I went to school at Pace University, and I studied finance. I actually worked on Wall Street in New York and lived there for a decade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was actually there during 9/11. That's a whole different story as well.
Yes.
And then I came back after 2008 when we all lost our jobs in the market recession, the financial crisis. So I came back home to California, where I'm from originally. And then I found myself going, okay, what am I going to do next for my career? Yeah. So I went back to school and I became a paralegal.
Oh, and, cool.
Yeah.
They're like cousins. Legal and finance is kind of like cousins, I would think. I work in finance in a roundabout way. I was an English teacher, but I'm now over in this finance side of things, but I feel like law and numbers, they work in the logic side, right? Oh. So, and especially, and this is maybe just me inserting myself, but I would think because you learn to be like unemotional about the fluctuations in the market as much, so you have the cool cucumber in the paralegal of like, you don't have to have an opinion. You are simply like stating facts and reporting.
Absolutely. It's very black and white, without a doubt. And, working in financial services, we dealt with a lot of the legal aspects of giving financial advice. So you're spot on with that. Yeah. In fact, when I was going through paralegal school and working for a number of attorneys, oftentimes they're like, oh, you're such a bright young lady. Why didn't you go to law school? And I said, had this happened to me 5 years earlier, which is, the financial crisis and so forth, I probably would have gone to law school, right? But I was already 40 something, and the last thing I wanted to do was be strapped with $250,000 in debt.
Yeah, that's what I was
go back to law school.
If my brain was mathing, and when you said you came to the States when you were 3 and it was this year, I was like, well, it's probably because she wasn't a 20 something who had a way to like shoulder all the debt.
And there's that logic again too.
Right. If they wanted to like, you know, give it to us for free, then maybe.
Right. And then, you know, so for a number of years, I worked as a paralegal. I was an intern with the federal defender in Los Angeles, working in their death penalty or their capital habeas unit. Yeah. And I also was an intern for the Orange County Public Defender's Office. So, and that's what I really loved. I loved criminal defense, but I did corporate, I did estate planning, family law, workman's comp, which now I'm involved with as a workman's comp injury. And aside from that, my side gig for the last 3-5 years was a fitness instructor. So I'm a certified group fitness instructor and a certified yoga instructor.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I love that. And for the last couple of years, I've been working full time as a office manager in the construction business. So I've done it all.
Yeah.
Yes, you and I have parallel lives, it sounds like. I did teaching and stuff, but I also worked at my ex-brother-in-law's landscape company, like doing operations and things, and then ran a landscape supply yard when I came back to Atlanta after living away for a while. So you and I have traveled in the same weird circles of like smart girls that don't look like they'd be in that industry, and then they are.
Yeah, no, it was really interesting. The construction field, I worked with companies that did public works. And so I learned so much about what they call labor and compliance. And that's what I was in charge of. So I did human resources, office management. But what the interesting part to me, again, I think this taps back into my finance and the legal, because that's a lot of legal. It's, making sure that you pay those workers the correct hourly wages, you pay the unions, and you deal with unions when you don't pay your dues correctly and so forth like that. So it's very interesting how everything came together.
No offense to HR, people that work in HR, but I didn't realize, I just learned a few years ago that, there's many of them that have masters in HR, so it's a high level position.
My sister has a PhD in human resources, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to rewind your story back in time. I'm going way back in time. Tell us about you when you were young. If you remember anything in India, that would be cool, just because we've never had a guest that had a different growing up experience in that area, but also just as a younger person, because obviously in telling your story, your injury is later in life, but tell us who you were.
When I was growing up, I grew up mostly here where I live currently, which is in Diamond Bar, California. It's part of Los Angeles County. I'm kind of in the border of Orange County and LA County. And growing up, I was always like that person, not like a tomboy, but I was always involved in something sports related. I ran cross country in high school. I also played on the tennis team. I was involved in student government. And it's kind of like how people describe me now. I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I'm always doing something. I can't just sit still. So whether it was involved in back in the day, we used to have an organization called the Key Club, which went out
with
and did. Yeah. And, you did all that kind of nice charity work, right? We used to work at a place. Every year we'd volunteer over at Latterman Hospital, which is closed now. It was like one of those regional centers. So, we used to be involved with Special Olympics and all of the volunteer work. So, that's kind of like who I am today as well. When I graduated, and it was interesting, I was the first graduating class in 1986 at Diamond Bar High School. Oh. So they had just built it. So, that was like one of those things. In 1986, we were the first class to finish all 4 years of that newly built high school. And then I went on to school in New York. I went to Pace University. So
that's what sent you to New York at first.
Yes.
Was school, college.
Yes, was school. I had an aunt and uncle that lived in Queens. My uncle actually worked for Pace University, not as a professor. He worked kind of in the like the food service and the dining and stuff like that through the Myriad Corporation. And they lived in the quintessential Queens, India neighborhood. So there's a part of Queens, it's called Jackson Heights.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's like going to, are you familiar with, and probably Doug, you know about this, if you go to Arcadia, or not Arcadia, what is the town? I can't think of, Artesia, excuse me.
Artesia, okay.
Yeah, Artesia. Have you ever been to Artesia where it's like Little India?
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah, so just, right off of the 91, right, in Artesia, and it's just blocks and blocks of just Indian stores. Indian food, the Indian garments, and tons of jewelry stores and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you, Doug and Addie, if you like Indian food, but if you like Indian food, you got to go to Artesia.
Amazing.
Yeah, spicy, right? Curry and.
Probably for the regular palate. I mean, personally, I don't like spicy food.
Yeah.
I love Indian food. I just don't like it spicy anymore.
Right? Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, one of my best friends is, he was raised in South Africa, but his parents are Indian. So that used to be, we would always go and get Indian food. And I love the restaurants he picks because I'm like, oh my God, saag paneer is my jam. Samosas.
Oh my God, I love
lassi.
saag paneer. That's my favorite.
Okay, cool. See, there you go. So you moved to New York and you got some more culture.
Yeah.
Where you could eat the food you love and see the things you were used to.
Oh, absolutely. It was a great time, but I was a little homesick. It was a culture shock. Living in New York and living in LA, two completely different experiences.
Yeah.
And so,
weather.
the weather was the toughest. And then I moved back home after I graduated, and then I worked in financial services. I worked at Smith Barney.
Okay.
So, I worked in Newport Beach. So, I did come into the field that I studied at the time, and then I worked for Smith Barney for a number of years, and then I worked for what was called Dean Witter. No longer exists.
That's right.
Yeah, I was like, I know that name, but I don't think it's a thing anymore.
I worked in Newport Beach, and I got the opportunity to work for what are three financial advisors that did institutional business. So their business wasn't mom and pop, like you and I as regular investors. They dealt with the counties, the cities, the municipalities. So this was right after, like in Orange County, they had like this big municipal bond, like disaster. I don't know what you want to call it, like scandal. Excuse me, I should say scandal. Yeah, it was a big deal.
Somebody misappropriating funds?
Yes, yes. It was misappropriation of money, bad investments and so forth. So the three financial advisors I worked for did that bond business. So we were, buying and selling bonds to these municipalities and these cities, right? Because, they're safe investments to fund all their programs. And so in working with them, I actually then became licensed. I got my securities license. And after I passed my test, the very next day, I did like a $10 million bond transaction. So that was really the coolest thing, right?
The big
You're
leagues.
like, oh my God, I'm using what I studied. I'm sure your parents and everybody were clapping because, people that I know like to say, we don't use what we So your parents are like, not only are you using it, you're using it on a $10 million deal.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of responsibility and there's a lot of things that could go wrong, like you say.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not just push a little lever and here it goes. So you're operating in a high stress, lots of responsibility position.
Yes.
For a number of years, I would assume.
It was a lot of fun. And then I had, they call it trading on the short end of the curve. It's called commercial paper, which a lot of, private companies, again, big companies, they just use it for short-term financing. Mm-hmm. And banks use it all the time. So there was a guy in New York worked on the trading desk who I dealt with like every single day. And so I had an opportunity. They asked me to come visit the bond desk. So I went back to New York, and I went and I met everybody on the trading floor. So this was at the World Trade Center. It was on the 61st floor. Dean Witter occupied the largest amount of floors within the World Trade Center. Now it was a lot more mature, you know, a little bit more settled. And I was there for 3 or 4 days, and I just was like, I'm in love. I want to come back to New York and go to work.
Yeah.
And
Something in talking to you though, like I feel the spirit of your like entrepreneurship and your go-getter and the adrenaline that you like, right? When you're saying you're kind of like a tomboy, this is adrenaline in like an intellectual way, right? Because it's a game of when do you get in, when do you get out, what's safe, what's not. You're having to do constantly calculate. So I can see it in you that's the game you like to play of who's going to win in the end, right?
So I went there and I visited, and then it just happened to be there was an opening on the bond desk, and the gentleman that headed up the bond desk, I remember saying, okay, you know what, you need to hire me. and so forth. I went back to California, and then he came and interviewed me. We went out to dinner, and he's like, why should you hire me? And I said, this and that. Next thing you know, this was in October, they hired me. In December, I'm moving to New York City.
In the worst weather.
I've been living at home this whole time, right? Now
What year was that?
I'm 26. It was 1996 or something like that, right?
Right.
And I have nothing. I just basically the clothes on my back, right? Because I've always lived at home.
So you got a couple of shocks going on, cultural shock, and you've got this whole dynamic of being on your own.
And talk about luck. So the guy that I used to do the trading with every day, Danny was his name, and he happened to have a studio apartment in Brooklyn, fully furnished, and he gave it to me for $635 a month.
Wow.
Oh my God.
I know, how lucky, right?
No, I mean, the friend that I was just talking about that going to the Indian food, he lived in New York, and we used to work for Grant Thornton. And so he lived in New York. He did a trade out of Atlanta to New York. And I mean, he shared a little like spitball apartment with another person. And his bit was like $1,800 in 2007, not 6. So for you to get that,
can you believe that? Well, you know, Danny said to me, he goes, you know, I just have this, he owned the apartment in this apartment building. And he's like, yeah, you know, I mean, it's just sitting empty. Here, let me give it to you. I mean, like I said, fully furnished. It was a nice apartment in a nice neighborhood. You know, they talk about the word regentrification. It was Greenpoint, and it was one of those areas that was coming through that regentrification.
Yes.
And so then I used to commute every morning to the World Trade Center underneath to that stop and so forth. And you know, I sold my car and everything. I mean,
right.
I went there I had work friends, but I didn't have any friends outside of that.
Right.
You know, I mean, it was exciting during the week. It was lonely on the weekends, though.
Oh, for sure. Especially if you're not like the people who go out and it's like you're just awake from Thursday till Sunday at 7 p.m. because you guys have gone out and eaten and drank and everything. New York is a beautiful, wonderful place, but it's always a place I'm like, I only want to visit and I only want to go for like 5 days because then I'm tired as hell. And I could never live there. I don't see making a life, but you know, it's like California when everybody thinks we just hang out at the beach all day, every day.
No, it's true. I've had a number of friends visit and family members, and they say the exact same thing, Addie. They're like, 3 or 4 days tops.
Yeah.
Now, did you get to a point where you got some outside friends?
I did. You know what? I mean, eventually, you know, you got to meet friends of friends, and you know, I was what they called the customer, so I was wined and dined pretty much every night, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
You you develop friends like in your apartment buildings and over time.
Yeah.
But the first few months were very hard.
I moved here to where I live here in Southern California because I had worked with a couple of guys up in San Luis Obispo, and they came down and they were like in charge of kind of getting this radio station turned around. And after a year, I came down. They brought me down in a position. Within a year, they were gone. Yeah. So now I'm here without any connection whatsoever, other than with the people at work. And then outside of that, I did some volunteer work. It started to get that whole my own personal ecosystem going. But it takes a little while.
It does. I love SLO, by the way. That's like one of my favorite towns.
I know. Nice. I wouldn't mind going back there.
So you go back. It's 2006-ish. And then you stay how long? Yeah. I mean, obviously you said September 11th and everything happened.
Yeah. So I moved in 1996 back to New York. Mm-hmm. And then I left in 2006. So I came back. I was still working at that time. When I first moved there, I worked for Dean Witter, and then Morgan Stanley bought Dean Witter. And then I moved to Midtown and worked for Morgan Stanley.
Whew. I'm glad you're in Midtown.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
And then I moved to Merrill Lynch. So when I came back to California, I was still employed by Merrill Lynch. And I was traveling pretty much the entire West Coast. Yeah. So my job was to go into branch offices. So like your financial advisor would be my client.
Right.
So we were like taking and synthesizing like investment opportunities and ideas and synthesizing them into palatable investment products and advice, so that financial advisor would then give to, say, you, Doug, or Addie, for your own portfolio.
Okay.
Right.
So that was my job. Yeah. And I loved it, traveled. I was, doing a lot of public speaking. I got to speak at the New York Stock Exchange once. So that was really cool.
That is super cool.
And then 2008 happened. So
and
we were
like, here. That's a fine how do you do?
I know. And then, we were salespeople. So we were highly paid. We had big expense accounts. So we were some of the first people to go.
Right.
And so then, luckily I was at home, because if it had happened when I was in New York, one of two things would have happened. I either would have found something similar, or, I would have ended up having to come home anyways, because the cost of living is so expensive, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
People make very good salaries, but the cost of living is so expensive out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is ultimately what drove my friend back to the Atlanta area. Was he's like, yes, I make a good paycheck, but my rent, you don't have a car because you can't afford a car. Food and everything is so expensive, and your places are so small and such a little economy kitchen. You eat out most of the time. It's very interesting.
That's so spot on.
I see the stories where there's like a 600 square foot. It looks like a box, and it's an apartment that somebody owns, and they're paying $2,500, $3,000 a month. Yeah, crazy. Sure.
I knew traders that paid like $250,000 for like that box. My apartment I lived in a pre-war building, 460 square foot, had its own separate kitchen, and it was a 4th floor walk up. And I lived right downtown, like within walking distance of the New York Stock Exchange, the American Stock Exchange, like kind of like Battery Park.
Yeah, I know where Battery Park
is. At the tip of the island. Yeah. Yes. So it was the best 10 years of my life. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
That's amazing. Excellent. So you come home, and it's obviously dead slow compared to New York.
It's no better here, right?
No, right? But, I moved back home, and with my parents here. And then that's when I decided, well, what am I going to do next? So the work that I did in New York, you don't have the same kind of work opportunities here.
Right.
It's very limited. In financial services, really the most that you can do is become a financial advisor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and that wasn't something I wanted to do. I can't ask people for money, even though I'm investing it. but a lot of, financial advisors were like, oh, why don't you come work with us as an investment analyst?
Yeah.
But that just didn't, strike me as something I wanted to do. So that's when I went back to school.
Okay.
And for some reason, the legal field really, attracted me. And in particular, it was criminal defense. I was like one of those people that's like, the Innocence Project and all of that kind of stuff. So then I went back to community college, which is usually where most of the paralegal programs are. So I went back to school part-time, worked a ton of part-time jobs. So, have you ever seen that SNL skit where I hate to say this, but like they say like there's a bunch of Jamaicans and they have like 5 jobs. Have you ever seen that skit or heard that?
Well, yeah, where you're like trying to piece it all together to do what you because you want to be able to do something else, right? So it's like first I'm at school for an hour, then I go over to this car wash, then I go bus tables, then literally to do that to get where you wanted to be.
There was a period where I worked a limousine company in the morning, booking the limousines. In the afternoon, I did an afternoon drive radio show. And then on the weekends, I did a part-time at another radio station. And when I got offered a full-time job, I was a little hesitant because, there was a certain amount of security in having 3 jobs. All 3 aren't going to go away at the same time. So, but, with the job, I got insurance and I had a baby. So I had to do that.
Yeah.
But
No, but Doug, I was exactly like that. I'd go from one place to another place to another place. And it was never about the money. I always tried to say to people, I'm 58. I've never been married. I don't have any children. And for me, work wasn't so much about the money. I mean, obviously,
right, just your needs,
But it was more about just keeping busy and doing stuff. I mean, I can't even tell you. I'd have to look at my Social Security Administration thing to know how many jobs I've had. I mean, I was working at a dealership, answering the phones. It was a perfect job to go to school. I worked the front desk at a massage place. So, and in turn, I got free massages for 5 years.
Right?
One massage a month.
You leveraged your luxuries and made them possible for yourself. And amen, sister, do it.
Off and on, since I was 17 years old, I've been working in gyms. I can't even tell you a year that I've had to pay for a gym membership because that was another part-time.
Yeah.
I mean, strategic. You know what you're doing. We've established this now. You know what you're doing.
The funny thing is, I'd be this 40-year-old woman because I'm, my 40s by now, working alongside 18-year-olds at the gym, but they would still hire me because they knew I was competent, right?
Right.
But I was making $10 an hour, $16 an hour.
Right.
Working with 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds at all of these part-time jobs.
That'll keep you young though.
Right.
Gotta keep you young.
Well, it shows you the drive and ambition. You will. I feel like that's a sorry, current generation, but I feel like that is an old generation skill that we will do whatever. Yeah. And we're not like, oh, I'm too old for that, or I'm too this for that, or whatever.
Yeah, all jobs have value, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we value being of value, and we also know that you have to get dirty to get what you want. Yeah. And be willing to sweat or get up early or do, whatever. I mean, yeah.
And there's some of those intrinsic values that come from that make you hireable for the next person. Like you say, getting the job done. Yeah. Being reliable.
And, although my parents didn't do it, my dad was, very well educated. He was a civil engineer. My mom worked. I think it's ingrained in our culture, my culture, especially being, like a second generation. That we just work hard. Yeah, that's what we do. We're going to work hard. We're going to save our money, invest it, and things like that. Mm-hmm. Whereas you mentioned the newer generations, mom and dad are going to kick the bucket someday, so I want to get something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true, right? It's sad.
Seems to be, yeah.
Yeah.
And or you owe me something because I'm here. And it's no, sorry. But
No,
anyway, so we're piecing together a bunch of jobs and you're going through paralegal school, and that takes how long? So when do you basically get to a position you can get a job in your new career?
Yeah, it took me 2.5 years because I did it part-time. And that's like about 2016 is when I graduated with my paralegal certificate. And then I did that for a number of years. Like I said, I worked for a number of attorneys. I couldn't get a job in criminal defense because there's not a lot of paperwork in criminal defense.
Okay.
So that's what's interesting. A lot of criminal defense attorneys, they go out on their own. I mean, they either start at one of two places. They're either a public defender or a DA. And then they eventually go out on their own as a sole proprietor. But there's not a lot of paperwork. So, the only two places you could work are for the DA and the public defender.
Yeah.
And I had no desire to work for the DA.
Right.
I'm one of those people.
You're like, well, damn. Yeah.
That's what I call the dark side.
Right. You're like, not doing that.
So, that kind of eventually waned, and I needed to make some more money. So that's when I got, I landed this job at a family-owned construction company. And that's when I learned about the construction business and then got really interested in that.
Yeah.
So got my OSHA certifications, learned a lot about like construction itself.
Mm-hmm. So now this is probably as we're, getting into 20 minutes plus, and people are thinking this is Walk and Roll Live disability stories, and it's a fascinating story. And, that's why we want to hear it, get to know you. And a lot of our guests, their injuries or, whatever has affected them to bring them to this community of disabled folks is happening earlier in life. It just happened recently for you. Yeah. So that's the part of the story that we have you here for, really. But yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it was a Saturday, March 22nd, 2025. Beautiful morning. I was going to teach my Saturday class. On Saturdays, I taught two classes. My first class at 10 a.m. was what we call HIIT, which is high intensity interval training.
Good. Yes. God. Yes. Also, die on your floor in your house if you try to do this.
And so I had a group of women, about my age, a little bit younger, dedicated. They always used to come to my Saturday classes, and we'd work out hard. Yeah. And so I went to the gym. I set up the stations. I had like 5 or 6 stations. And one of the exercises in that station is a box jump. Are you guys familiar with what the box jump is?
Uh-oh. Yeah. I'm already going, oh, shit.
Yeah.
So, very big in the CrossFit world. It's a great exercise. It's plyometric, and it's a healthy exercise for anyone to do. Well, I always give women the option. You could either do a box jump or you could do just step up and down. Mm-hmm. So long story short, I'm doing the class with them. It's my second round. I've already done like 10 box jumps. So my second round, it's either the second or the third jump. I jump on the box. I land with my 2 feet, but somehow I hit my head with such intensity in the mirror in front of me. And I immediately felt it. Like it was like a shock of like an electrical shock in my neck immediately. Yeah. It was like, I almost felt like I was suspended in air. That's how I felt.
Wow.
And I felt it immediately. And then I fell to the side of the box. I landed on the ground. And immediately the gals in my class ran up to me.
Right.
And I said to them, are my arms and legs straight? Because I felt like I was in a bear pose. Right? So my arms and legs up.
Yeah.
They're like, no, Susie, your arms and legs are straight on the floor. I can't feel my arms and legs. Immediately was paralyzed. I was conscious this entire time, though. I think they said I passed out for a little bit.
So when you jumped up, sorry, I'm like just trying to picture this in my head. So when you jumped up, you smacked the mirror. So you jumped up on the box and hit your head on the mirror?
Yes.
In
front of me. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to picture how this happened, but I was like, okay, so basically the distance between the box and the mirror had somehow moved from what it maybe was originally set up as.
Well, I think it's just the way my head was down or something, the way it landed. Because like I said, I landed with my feet solid, because most people assume I fell.
Right. No, you solidly landed, but the impact was so great on your brain.
So what happened
No. She hit the mirror.
I hit the mirror.
I know, but I mean hitting her head so hard, yes.
But what really happened is I hyperextended my neck, only to find out later, from my spine surgeon, what happened with my neck was what is the equivalent of a whiplash.
I was going to say
in an auto accident.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you whiplash forward instead of back, basically, into the mirror. Yeah. Yes.
So the whiplash was when the force of my head hitting the mirror whipped my neck back, and that's hyperextension. So, immediately rushed to trauma, level 1 unit over at UCI. I went into and had surgery right away. So they did what they call a decompression, because apparently I had spinal stenosis that was pretty severe, of course, in my cervical vertebrae.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
So the spines didn't sever.
No. So I'm an incomplete. So I am a C7 incomplete quadriplegic.
Wow.
But I'm a walking quad.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because I know a number of our listeners are thinking quad. They think wheelchair, user, and maybe don't have use of their hands or legs, that kind of thing. But I've met Susie. She walks around, and as we're seeing her here on the video that we're using, she talks with her hands a little bit. All right, so continue.
But so, I had a spinal fusion. I have 12 rods in my neck, C3 to T2. So pretty extensive.
12
Then I
rods.
I was at UCI for 6 weeks, 2 of those weeks in the hospital, 4 of the weeks in their acute rehab, doing 3 hours of PT and OT daily.
Yeah.
And this was a workplace injury. So I'm in the workman's comp black hole, as I call it.
Right.
It really is a black hole.
So you were in the circular black hole known as workman's comp.
Exactly.
So basically, so you get injured, everybody gathers around, you can't feel anything.
Nope.
You think your extremities are one way. They say no, that's not what's going on. The ambulance and everybody comes to pick you up. I'm just backing up the story a little bit so you understand. The ambulance comes to get you, and what do they say? Anything? They put you on a backboard and just try to
That's basically it. Yeah. I mean, I remember being in the hospital, wheeled into emergency, freaking out in the MRI, having the CT. After the MRI, I don't know. I don't remember anything, right? They basically put me right into surgery. Mm-hmm. So, but I got movement in my legs. I would say the left side of my body. I'm right-handed, but the left side of my body pretty much woke up within like a couple of days, about a week or so.
That's encouraging, right? For you.
And so, the first thing I did when I was able to was obviously hire an attorney. And so with the help of my attorneys, they got me into Casa Colina. So from UCI, after 6 weeks at UCI, I then went to Casa Colina in Pomona, and I was a resident in what they call their TLC, which is their Transitional Living Center. And I lived there for 5 months, so 24/7.
So you had good care and coverage.
I had great care.
Yeah.
I mean, I look back and I'm grateful for the experience and all of the care at UCI and at Casa Colina. And, I was fortunate enough, by the time I got to Casa Colina, I was using a walker. So I haven't spent any time in a wheelchair.
Your body was like, come on, we got things to do. This was a temporary hiccup.
Well, and the one thing I've learned a lot with the research and, that I read and so forth, and you guys already know this probably as well from all of your guests, is you could take two people with the same level of injury and everybody's response is entirely different.
Yes.
Say it all the time. Yep. Said it earlier in another meeting I was at earlier today. Said the same thing. Yep.
Yeah. And, like you said, Doug, I've met now a lot of other people that have a similar injury as C7 and they're not walking. Right. Right. Yeah. So, you don't know what it is. Could have been your prior health, could have been this. You just don't even know. I'm sure it's a little bit of everything. Yeah. So, at TLC, I got a lot of good rehab though.
And their primary job there or primary objective is to get you back so you can live independently with your new body, or what is the focus, I guess, of TLC? Obviously, you were injured enough that you needed to be in an inpatient program like that. Right.
No, that's a great question. In fact, that's exactly what it is. It's, let's face it, a spinal cord injury and a traumatic brain injury are what are considered catastrophic injuries. Your body will never recover, right? So my body will never be where it was, not even 95%. I'm lucky if I get 75%. So their idea is to get your body to as close to that, the best that it can be.
Get you as much as they possibly can. Right. I think that's always the goal. Yeah.
Right. But the real thing is, like you said, Addie, is to learn how to adapt to your new body. Right? What are those adaptations? What are some of the occupational therapy?
You say that's where skills, OT comes
tools.
in.
So that you can cook, so that you can dress, and you can comb your hair, do all of those things. Yeah. So that's really what their goal is over there.
You know what we've learned, I think, in telling all of these stories, or facilitating the telling of these stories.
I'm like, we don't tell them.
Yeah, no, we don't tell them. But there's just so many times this happens where we hear this story of the people's lives and where it really comes in handy at this time of your life because of your background. You knew to get a lawyer and probably had the vocabulary and all of that to navigate that kind of world to help yourself in this incident in your life.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You know what? It's a number of things. It's not only the legal aspect of it, but you're absolutely right. I knew right away. I just had to wait for my hands to work so I could call the attorneys. What it really taught me was self-advocacy.
Yes.
Right? So, a lot of my doctors, I know they love me, but I'm also a pain in the ass, pardon my French, because I ask way too many questions, Right. And I will, say to them, look, this isn't working. We need to try this or whatever, right? So I don't just take them at face value. Yeah. And then the other aspect, I think really, truly, I believe that has helped me is my background in physical fitness and yoga.
That's it. The other thing, yes.
And so, you take the general population, when you look at it, only like 4 to 5% of people work out on a regular basis. Right. You take that same population and it's going to be the same in spinal cord injury and traumatic brain injury. Let's face it. Not everybody likes to work out.
Right.
And they don't want to work out hard. Even though they know that they need that, it's just not in them, right?
Right.
Now, I'm the complete opposite. When I was at Casa Colina, every day after therapy, I was working out.
Right.
On the weekends, I was in the gym working out. And so I was able to do exercises and even teach some of the people that were training me what I was capable of doing because they didn't push me.
Right.
Right. That's interesting you say that because that's one of the stories that you hear so much out of physical therapy. They were trying to kill me. The pain was amazing. But here you're saying you're not pushing me.
You're like, no, harder. Yeah. You're like, I used to teach HIIT. What's wrong with you?
I know a couple of people that have had knee surgery, a knee replacement. And, one gentleman, he just was back in a couple of weeks. It seemed like to normal. And there was another gal that I knew didn't do the physical therapy. And it got to the point where she didn't even get the mobility and range of motion in her knee. Yeah. Ended up having to go back in and redo it, and even though people were saying, you need to do the physical therapy. You need to stretch and do all those things. And so she learned the hard way.
Sorry, Doug.
Go
But
ahead.
so where is your, like, what is life like now? What is your injury like, your daily life now that you've kind of done all that stuff? I mean, obviously, you've pushed yourself to the point to get to a place that you're more able to deal. And you're only a year in, and we're looking at you now going, holy crap, well, I am.
Yeah.
So tell us what life is like now.
Yeah.
And
So
what the challenges still are.
back in October, I discharged myself. So that's a whole other story. My attorneys weren't too happy.
I know. They were like, what are you doing?
But you know what? I needed to move on for my own mental health, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to ask about that too, because people listening up to this point, you're outgoing and you sound, of course, mental health sounds very strong and all of that. But even before, when we talked a little bit before we started recording, you were talking about some dark times. So, kind of tell us how you made that transition.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. Is somehow about like August, late August, after I got COVID at Casa Colina, everything just went downhill. They kept telling me, my attorneys kept telling me, Susie, we're going to get you home. We're going to get you home. We'll have day therapy for you. And I was looking forward to that. And then it just was taking longer and longer. And this is not a commentary on Casa Colina by any means, but I was at the point where I needed to be in the real world to know what it's like to live with my new impairment, my disability in the real world.
Yeah.
Because at Casa Colina, all I saw were people that weren't moving on, that were there for 5 years and 8 years and 3 years. I didn't want to live there. It was my mental health was declining at that notion that I could be here forever. Well, not literally, but so
I get it.
Yes, in some ways, probably in the dark days, it felt like maybe forever. And
that would
for
happen.
you, who's a go-getter, and also it's how your story arcs all the way through this, though, too, because like being in New York, right? It's like go, 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 do, do, do. So if you're like, wait, now you just set me at the bus stop, is any bus ever coming? I'm sure that is kind of where it felt like, and you had to, again, self-advocate to say, I know what I need. I need out.
Absolutely. And in fact, so I discharged myself in late October, and I came home, and it was not pretty. I fell almost immediately within like the first week that I was here. I said a couple of things that you shouldn't say, and I said it at UCI. At UCI, I was on a 5150 hold. Whoops. And I ended up the sheriff came and knocked on my door, shipped me off to Pomona Valley Hospital, and I was on a 5150, which is a psychiatric hold, for 4 days in the hospital.
Ooh, yeah. So this is a result of your fall and how you reacted
and just
to
being
that?
home. I think it was overwhelming because this was the first time in 6 months that I was completely on my own.
Yeah.
Right.
Like literally, there's no one in my home.
Right.
It's just me.
Right. It's a shell shock when you thought, God, I just want these people to leave me alone. And then everybody leaves you alone and go, well, shit, this isn't what I thought it was like. I'm sure there's a lot of that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Went to the other extreme.
It did, and then, but I've come completely out of that. And I'll be honest with you, the things that really brought me out of that space were the support groups, the SCI support groups.
Yes.
Through Triumph Foundation. Mm-hmm. So now I attend all the support groups. And the other thing that helped me was the ODA, which is the outdoor activities, over at Casa Colina.
Yeah.
And so
they do that every Friday, right?
Yeah. I go to as many of the sports events because that's what I love to do.
Yeah.
I love hiking. I go on walks every day. I have a caregiver.
Nice.
And she and we walk almost a 5K. We walk 3 miles every other day.
Good God.
My neighborhood. Yeah. So
I'm tired. Can we count those some of my steps? Can we just say, Susie's doing my steps today?
But I told my physical therapists and OTs at Casa Clinics, I still stay in touch with everybody. I say, listen, you guys did an awesome job, But to be quite honest with you, and I truly feel this, me coming home and doing my own exercise programming has pushed me further along and faster, I know 100% than if I had stayed at Casa Colina.
Yeah.
Because I'm dedicating that time to myself. And I'm pushing myself to know what my limits are and just pushing myself a little bit more.
Yeah. Well,
right now.
You're in that 4 or 5% that would do that.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So
And
you have a careger.
Go ahead.
I do. Yeah, I have, it's been off and on because it's always based off of insurance approvals. Mm-hmm. I'm fortunate enough to have someone right now. She comes in for 4 hours in the morning.
Okay. Every day?
Every day. Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what? Since I've come home, I've finished 2 classes online and I've earned one of my certificates, a human resources certificate.
There you go.
I go see my friends. I go to yoga once a week. Now I'll be going back twice a week to all the places that I taught. They kept me on as an employee at all the gyms. They never let me go. So now I have like 4 different gyms I can go to. The yoga studio where I used to teach yoga, every Friday night I go and take a yoga class.
Yeah. So it's really, really, really been important to you to get your community back.
It is. Yeah. And, like meeting people like yourselves, meeting people like Rob, people that have lived with their injury in the real world. Mm-hmm. And not to say, but at Casa Colina, we live in a bubble. We're not in the real world, right?
Yeah.
But to come out and to know people that have jobs, have navigated life in the disability community, right? Yeah. In the real community, getting all of those experiences, that's what I needed for my own well-being.
Right. Well, thank you for saying all that, because this is something that Addie and I, this is our mantra now. We mentioned
this is the hill we will die on.
It's every episode. And again, the meeting I was at earlier, which was, it's we call it a mixer, but it's kind of like a support group when we share our stories. And, it's just when you're in that community, they get it. You can say something, you don't have to go into a lot of detail, and they fully understand already. But it really was what got me through COVID, because, where we were all shut down and isolated. And I didn't really realize it for a long time during COVID. I just remember, and I have to reveal this, but I talk to myself a lot, just around the house,
I keep telling him to get a pet so it isn't so obvious. He didn't have to admit it.
The only thing is I use my name like I'm talking to myself.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's weird. But when I realized was I haven't been talking much lately, because I was just kind of in this funk, and so then when I started to get out and go to some online groups and that kind of thing, it just opened me up. Sometimes I would just leave the house and drive to the park, and sit there and just to get out of the 4 walls here, but yeah. And that's what we talk about all the time is find your community.
Oh, absolutely. And, it's like you said, I have all my able-bodied friends. I don't even like using those terms, but my able-bodied friends, and like you said, they understand and they're very kind and they're, they still treat me like the old Susie. But they don't understand some of the things, and nor am I going to discuss it. I'm not going to discuss my bowels and my bladder with them. Right. But like you said, you can go to an SCI support group and, people will talk about it like it's nothing because, in our community, this is normal stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? We all understand it.
Yeah. Somebody tells a story and go, oh, you do that too?
You go, oh my God, do you know how to transfer in this? Or how did you get out of the bathtub at a hotel? Like the things that we like.
I call the front desk. That's how I get out of the bathtub at the hotel. No.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. I've discussed this with Rob and a couple of other people in the SCI support groups. Mm-hmm. It's kind of strange. So I kind of feel like I live in 2 worlds, to be honest with you, because when I go to a lot of these events, I'm probably the only person that's walking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
right?
My dear co-host here kind of was talking about it. I don't think it's aired yet, but an episode that we recorded earlier in the week or last week, and you talked about how she felt like an imposter for a while. So I don't know.
No, that's exactly how I feel, and it makes me feel guilty. I don't know why, but because even though I am walking, what people don't see is that I still have a lot of the same issues that other people with spinal cord injuries have.
Yeah.
Right? It's just not obvious. I have, the bladder, the bowel issues. I have the sensation issues and so forth, the temperature dysregulation, the pain and stuff. But you just can't see it because everyone's so focused on the fact that I'm walking, which is wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Susie, you're doing so good.
But my walking is impaired. Mm-hmm. Most people that see me on the street will be like, "Oh, there's something wrong with her." Mm-hmm. And people have to remember that when you don't have a good gait or impaired walking, it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? It's walking. Yes. I can do it, but it's not easy. I'm exhausted after 2 or 3 hours.
And a part of that, I think, is the mental part. You have to, whereas, I've never walked before, so, maybe I'm out of my lane here, but, I would think that, people that walk and have their whole life, it's second nature. They don't even think about it. But when you're, when you're walking with that impaired gait, then you have to think about almost each step. Or disaster may come.
Or where you go. I'll make a joke because you might relate to this, Susie. Like I always say, like the place I do not want to go is a liquor store because I'm like, I cannot afford to buy that liquor store if I crash into the aisles. Like
all the glass bottles.
Oh, the glass bottles. Well, it's funny. My friends will say, "Oh, Susie, can you have a drink or something?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Have you seen the way I walk? Put a little alcohol on me, I'll be falling all over the place."
Oh, and
only the people in wheelchairs can drink because they can have somebody push them around.
Yes.
Right. Well, my problem isn't that. If I drink too much, I think that my gait is better. Like I think that I am now straightening up.
Delusion sets in.
I get my Delulu self going, and then I'm like, no, I got it. And they're like, you don't got it on a normal day. What's wrong with you?
What are you talking about?
But so what's in the future for you? You were a year out. You've made a lot of improvements. There's still a lot of stuff going on. But what's in the future for Susie?
Well,
How does it look?
I am hoping, first and foremost, to work again.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'll work full time. I want to work part time. Just more really to keep myself busy. Mm-hmm. But the thing I really want to do is I want to return to teaching yoga. And that would be accessible yoga or modified chair yoga. One of the things I'm working on right now, just kind of writing it out. And I've been, reaching out to people like, and I'm going to reach out to you, Doug, as well as Andrew from Triumph and Hal from The Perfect Step, is I really want to bring like a holistic approach to living with SCI. Mm-hmm. Because I think, most of the people I meet have been injured for a number of years.
Yeah.
So they don't have as much knowledge about like neuroplasticity and exercise. They might have gotten a month of rehab and then they said, go home. Right?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, we've met people that they've got nothing and gone home.
Got nothing. Yeah. But, I came upon this program at the University of Alabama that I'm involved in now. And they call it Mentor. And it's mindfulness, exercise, nutrition to optimize resiliency. Isn't that amazing?
I love that. Yeah.
That's really cool. I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah. And I want to bring something like that. So I'm thinking about, a website, some videos, and I want to do this all for free, because I know a lot of people in the disability community also don't work.
Yeah, don't have a lot of disposable income.
Finances are limited. Yes.
So, whether it's YouTube videos, but I want people to look at a holistic view of this, because it is all of these different parts, like I said, the mindfulness, the exercise, and the nutrition. As more and more science comes out, is to bring that to the SCI community,
Yes.
or any neurological rare diseases as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you have relationships with these people in Alabama with the program?
I'm just starting it.
Okay.
But I can get everyone in touch. It's a wonderful program. I just started it this week.
Well, as you can imagine,
she's already advocating, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
Start it and talk about it.
As you can imagine, we are very Southern California kind of intensive here, because these are the people that we know and interact with all the time. But we would love to grow this outside of our area. We've already had some individuals from around the world that have been on, but different programs, just like the ones that we have around here, loved, or maybe even newly unique ones that are coming up with new ideas like this program you're talking about. Love to have them on to share the idea.
Yeah, no, I'll get you in touch with somebody, in fact. Okay. And, the one thing I do want to do is dedicate time to just advocacy, Right. I'm, getting in touch with some research advocates. I just did a program, a certification online for that. Maybe getting involved with Triumph or HAL at the Perfect Step and the Be Perfect, because there's so many resources out there, but they're all over the place. And if you're not on social media, like a lot of the older SCI folks aren't on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The younger ones are really embracing social media.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
That's because they know. That's all they know.
Apps and stuff. Yeah.
Internet bubble. So yes.
Yeah.
The community is lucky to have you, to use your skill set that you've had from the get-go, and your attitude and all the things. So it'll be exciting to see what blossoms out of the new chapter.
I know. Yeah, I appreciate it. The ultimately the thing is I want to try to get back. I know 1 year is nothing. Mm-hmm. I've seen people online that after 4 years they started walking.
Right.
So I can only imagine what's in store for me. Mm-hmm. But I want to give back. I definitely want to give back to all of the people that supported me, because I do think that there's so much cutting edge research that's there. I just watched this thing for Wings of Life. Just as a side note, this is, talk about irony. 2017, I was a running coach for a snail's pace, and they needed some pacers for a race. Never heard of it. It's called the Wings for Life. It was in Santa Clarita. It was the first time in Southern California that they held the live race. Drove out there, 4 a.m., started the race. Didn't really know what Wings for Life was. I was like, spinal cord research. Here I am, 2026, and I'm going to be running in the race on May 10th.
Wow.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing, though. Serendipity.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hello, if you don't believe in serendipity and universal coincidences, right. I don't even call them coincidences. That's the wrong word. No. Universal, your path is laid. Just look at the path.
Yeah.
But we don't have the overhead view like a parade, right? We don't, and so we get so caught up in the moment. But I cannot wait to see where the rest of your chapter goes. I'm already on the edge of my seat.
All right, we're gonna have to wrap up. This has gone, way longer than we usually do, but it was great. Appreciate you joining us, and we want to have you back when you get that yoga class going or whatever, and like to hear about what you're doing. Does that sound good?
I would love to
meet Dina.
All right.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on, you guys.
It's nice to meet you. Take care, Susie.
Each week on Walk and Roll Live, we share honest and open stories of people living with a disability.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that, I was bouncing back and forth between Kaiser and Casa Colina. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I won't say obviously, but what had happened was I got spun around, and as I mentioned, I broke my back and severed my spinal cord. I didn't know that my legs weren't working, other than the fact that the car next to me that hit me was on fire. I knew that I had 21 gallons of gas in my tank.
Join us weekly for another powerful episode. Walk and Roll Live, wherever you get your podcasts. Life Limitless. Subscribe now.
From the UGYAR Professional Training Studios, you're listening to Walk and Roll Live Disability Stories.
Thanks again, Susie, for coming on. And it just proves what I say all the time. You don't change personalities because you become disabled. If you're a go-getter, if you're a thrill seeker, whatever you are beforehand, you're going to be afterhand. And if you're just somebody that lays back, you're quiet, you're kind of a reserved person, mellow, then that's probably what you're going to be after disability as well.
This story's so fascinating. Like, just the go-getter of the girl that she is. Like, I love New York. I've been a few times now living on the East Coast, but when I turned 30, I went with a best friend of mine and I was like, I want to go to New York and I want to hang out for like a week. And we did all the touristy things and like, it was just so fun. And if I didn't hate like so many people and so many crowded spaces, New York is amazing for the food, the people, the like things going on everywhere all the time, the beautiful parks. Like, I've been very lucky to go up and see it. So when she's telling some of the story of like the exchange and going and working there and stuff, I know what the crazy's like. And I'm like, wow, to just jump from Cali to the exchange is insane.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And just to, just to be a go-getter and say, I'm going to do it. I'm interested. And the level of interest, and then her whole injury is like crazy. Like the story felt like twists and turns the whole time for us because.
And you heard in the story that, she's only like a year in, to the injury, and she seems like she's handling it like she handled everything else.
Yes.
It's like a bear that you have to wrestle, sometimes in life. Don't you feel like that? Something is presented to you and it's like, okay, it's gonna do damage to me if I don't stand up here and really start to fight back. Yeah.
Well, and I thought it was interesting, like how frank she was, that the care she was getting was not bad care, but it wasn't the care for her.
Yeah.
And like advocating for herself, which is, it sounds like she's always been an advocate, but I think that takes a ton of courage to be like, you know what, if I stay here, I'm not going to walk, or I'm not going to do the things I want to do. And like, it's brave to advocate and to like look deeply enough to figure out what you want and like how you're going to get it.
We talk about a lot of the guests we have that come on have disabilities. Then there are those people that are our advocates and our supporters and all of that. And we're going to get into that story next week. We have a creative person that is allowing, I don't know, that's probably not the right word, but facilitating, people with disabilities to be able to fulfill that dream for themselves. Mm-hmm. I think that's a better way of putting it. And I think she mentions that in the story that there were people that wanted to dance or whatever, and nobody would give them an opportunity when they went around to different dance studios. And she's like, she wasn't doing it at the time. She just saw that this was something that she wanted to fulfill. She
answered the call, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what it takes in the world, right? Like, it doesn't matter if it's about disability or something else. It's just like supporting somebody's dream or creating an avenue that doesn't really cost anything a lot of times. And like, I love that there are people planted in the world by the universe that just are like, okay, we're going to make it happen. Yeah. Versus like giving all these reasons why it's not going to happen or why it's too cumbersome or whatever. Because I feel like a lot of times, especially in disabled community, we naturally see ourselves as a burden or like cumbersome. And so we learn to kind of shrink because we being us is already not like an inconvenience is the wrong word, right? But I know for myself, I was like, a lot of people have given up a lot of things to just keep me alive. And so to want to do things greater than just stay alive seems kind of like an asshole.
Yes. But, I think a lot of us, even if it doesn't rise to that level of keeping us alive, there's some things that we need help with, and we do everything we can to try to do as much as we can before we ask for help, and I think that wears us out a lot earlier than, just old age that sets in. And so, very grateful to those people, and also, doing my best to transition, as I get older, to asking for help or taking help when people ask, because that's the other thing. There are many times that, that I wouldn't take help.
100%. right? Like I had that experience this weekend when I'm like packing my walker with bags and all this stuff. And they're like, just wait, we will help you too. And I'm like, no, I've got my stuff. You've got your own stuff. And they're like, no, we will help you. Like when there's enough of them that they're going to gang up on you to let you be helped. But it's not it's an auto response. I'm not even trying to deny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's second nature. Yeah.
I'm like, you get called out.
Yes. Well, typical guy. For the longest time, especially when I was getting it in and out of my trunk in my little Honda Civic, people from time to time would ask for help, and I'm like, and sometimes I would say yes, but then it was just so, just so difficult to get them to put it in the way I needed it to be put in, so I could get it out again. And so I just kind of gave up on that. And then I had a rule. No, I just say, no, I got it. And most people would listen. And then at some point I changed the rule a little bit. I said, I'm not going to let anybody help me unless they're a pretty girl. It's
funny.
Yeah. So did that for a while. Yeah.
Like, oh man, you're like, I don't care how you put it in here because it gives me time to look at you.
I'll figure that part out. Yeah.
Right.
Oh man. All righty. Well, thank you for joining us again for another round of Walk and Roll Live. We appreciate it very much. Check out YouTube. We're like I was talking about in the beginning, I've kind of worked on making that work. See if it works for you. Yeah, let us know and like and subscribe and all the good things. All right. And like I say, working on resources. Got a few more on there now. There's a bunch of events. This is summertime that are on the events page too. If you're looking for something to do, mostly in Southern California. But if you're listening somewhere else and you have an organization that puts on adaptive sports events and you want to help get the word out, we're more than happy to let you know. So Ellie Nelson coming up next week here on Walk and Roll Live. Thank you for listening. I'm Doug. She's Addie from the Agyar Professional Training Studio. This has been Walk and Roll Live, Disability Stories, Life Limitless.